Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' plan to crack down on illegal immigrant expenses is off to a strong start. Politico is reporting the state's law, which directs hospitals that accept Medicaid to ask patients about their immigration status, caused a 54% drop in expenditures billed to Medicaid in its first year. The year prior to the law going into effect, the state spent nearly $150 million on emergency care for illegal immigrants. So far this year, they have only spent $67 million. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart. He is a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the chairman of the State Foreign Operations and Related Programs Subcommittee. Congressman, talk about this shift financially in Florida and what has really saved the state so much revenue.
Well, what is continually saving the people of the state of Florida is that Florida is a law and order state. We adhere to the rule of law. And you're seeing that in this case, right? 54% drop in actual cost to the taxpayer, just because they're asking if you're here legally. And, you know, the irony is that there's no requirement that that person has to say if they're here legally, but just asking has caused this dramatic cost drop to the taxpayers in Florida. Adhering to the rule of law, supporting the rule of law is good for everybody. And that's why Florida is doing so phenomenally well.
Yeah, certainly the numbers that we're seeing on our screen right now bear that story out. And also, it's not just, but also Medicaid and Medicare fraud has been so rampant. And that's something else that the state of Florida has been, it seems, very successful in battling, better so than other states, unfortunately. I want to ask you something else. You know, obviously, this is an election year. And there's a very interesting piece this morning in the New York Times op-ed section. And it says, the title is Marco Rubio. That, of course, is your senator. Marco Rubio could cost Biden the election. And what they're saying here is that there is one person on Trump's reported short list of running mates, potential running mates, that has the ability to carve a Pennsylvania-shaped slice out of the so-called blue wall of the Rust Belt, and that is Rubio of Florida. What is it about Marco Rubio that not only makes him a strong candidate for the vice president, but could be the name floated out there that could really derail Joe Biden?
Well, look, I think the President Trump has a lot of good choices as far as who he wants for VP. I think Marco Rubio will be phenomenal. He's an amazing communicator. He has a great personal story. He's tough. He is exceedingly smart and obviously quick on his feet. And he's loyal. He's loyal. President Trump needs somebody who's loyal to him and to the agenda. I think Marco Rubio fits that bill. I think he'd be a phenomenal candidate for vice president. But equally as important, obviously, God willing, would never happen. But if something were to happen to President Trump, which will not, Marco Rubio could step in that very moment. So he has the expertise, the experience, the talent. He's loyal to the president and to the agenda. He'd be a heck of a candidate for vice president.
Well, we heard the former president over the weekend say that, you know, he's made his choice. We don't know what it is, but we expect to hear that at the convention. I do want to ask you about the classified documents case, because that's actually back in a Florida courtroom today. And Judge Aileen Cannon is going to hear arguments over the Trump team's motion to dismiss the case. Trump's attorneys are charging that special counsel Jack Smith was illegally appointed the case because he was a private citizen at the time. And the Smith's team is also asking the judge to adjust Trump's release conditions. They want to bar Trump, get this, from speaking publicly about the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. They're focusing on his comments about the agency's use of force. And then you've got this new report that two other Florida state judges actually pressured Cannon to step aside from the case when it was first given to her. They wanted that trial moved closer to Miami. And then another was worried about a perception of bias, Congressman. All of this happening in your state. Your reaction to this?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, really sad. I mean, I think the American people see what's happening. This is, look, we have sanctioned other governments in other countries for doing much less than what the federal government and the Democrats around the country are doing to President Trump. President Trump is the Republican nominee for president. He is the opposition candidate. And the fact that they're using the state, the government, to go after the opposition candidate is something that we have sanctioned. And not even, this is not 10 years ago. The Biden administration has sanctioned other governments for doing much less than what the Biden administration is trying to do to President Trump. I think the American people see it. They're fed up. This makes banana republics look good. It's an insult to call this a banana republic, an insult to banana republics. And again, the American people are wise to it. They see it. That's one of the reasons President Trump is going to be reelected. And by the way, that day of him coming back to the White House cannot come soon enough for the good of the American people and this country.
Yeah, we talked about that last hour in particular with the border crisis. We talked to Tom Homan about that. Real quick before you run, though, I know that your bill that funds state foreign operations and related programs was approved by House Appropriations. You say this is going to reduce Biden's budget by 19%. Real quick, tell us more what's going on with this.
Well, in the 24 fiscal year bill, we actually, after negotiating with the White House, which we have to do in the Senate, we actually cut 6% while doing more to help our national security interests. We're trying to now take advantage of those victories and do even more. So cut spending while funding things that are a priority, like helping our allies, confronting our adversaries, but doing so while saving taxpayer money. That doesn't actually hurt us. It actually helps us when we stop funding entities that actually are doing us harm, like the UN, like the World Health Organization, et cetera. That helps us, and then we can use the money for really important things. That's what we started doing in 24. We're going to keep doing that in 25, and I'm grateful for the Speaker of the House and the Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Tom Cole, for their leadership. And I think we're going to get some additional victories. Again, all of this until we have a new president, President Trump, in which case there we can do a lot more.
Well, a lot of work needs to be done between now and then, so the business of the people continues. Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.